Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Partnership of Greatness. Once again, you realize that in the studio, I do not have my wife, but she's given way to Honorable Bob Chinga. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much indeed for having me, and also good evening to our viewers. I
know that you don't need an introduction, but it is worth noting that your being on set here is not only a blessing to Camnet TV, but to the nation. You have served in government positions, parastatal positions for a long time, and I think the nation has a reservoir or reservoirs of wisdom, knowledge where they can draw from if they want to build the economy. When did you start working? Well, after you graduated, you finished your Form 5 then, or for how long have you been working? Because to go back and say where, it will take us our time.
Okay. Well, Pastor, first of all, thank you so much indeed for your kind words. I hope that we can be of use to our country and to our people that are watching us today, and also for the program that you have arranged for tomorrow and Saturday for the conference on agriculture. And I'm thankful that you considered it appropriate that I should appear again with you on this program, and I thank Mom for giving her way so that we can be able to cover the ground that you would like us to cover.
Mr. Mpondela is the one who said, Pastor Chiluba, the rightful man for this hour is Honorable Chinga.
Well, he will have to pay the price for that.
So he sold you out.
Now, in answer to your question about my working career, I've been working for the last 54 years.
Yeah.
I left school in 1968, going to the Ministry of Finance as a trainee auditor, and by 1969 I started studying accountancy. I qualified in 1974 as a certified accountant. I was one of the first 6 Zambians to qualify as a certified accountant. I worked for Indico, who sponsored me to study in the UK, where I qualified from the University of Central England in Birmingham. And I worked for Indico, the Industrial Development Corporation, in the Indico House from, shall we say, from 1969 in the Internal Audit Department. And during that particular session, I also worked in various subsidiary companies of Indico, including finally Zamefa, Zambia Metal Fabricators in Guansha, up to 1976. Yeah, and then I've worked in private sector. After that, I worked for the mining sector for 10 years, and then I ran my own businesses for another 10 years before going to Parliament in 1996. So that's been my career, and then of course I was in Parliament for 10 years, from 1996 to 1986. Sorry, from 1986, I beg your pardon, 1996, and up to 2006, before I went back to consulting. And then in 2011, Mr. Sasata, when he became president, appointed me as his Minister for Commerce, Trade and Industry. And subsequently, I went to Agriculture as Minister for Agriculture. I think that's why I'm here, because of that indulgence.
Honorable, I come from Chinsali.
Yes, topsoil.
Topsoil. And if my mind serves me right, the time I was a kid in Chinsali, I never saw our parents, grandparents with cows, with what, but what comes to my mind is Chitemene system.
Yes.
You know, to Alekule Sako.
You members were very bad about that.
Yeah, we were bad.
Yes, because you are cutting all the trees. Yes, you're cutting all the trees. Chitemene was very bad.
It was very
Yeah,
bad.
it was. Yeah.
I'm just bringing to the nation how bad Zambia is. Because it has been cutting trees.
Yes, it has. Yes. But you learned your lessons. Now you
people
are.
like yourself, instead of the political will to use you for Chitemene system, and you can see how bad our political system is.
Yes.
They've gone Chitemene.
Yes.
That I wonder why. When this president comes, of course, he comes with his own team.
Yes.
This one comes, he comes with his own team.
Yes.
Now, most of the people who come on the scene, it's try and error. Even if I win to be a member of parliament, I'm not going to have the knowledge that you have when it comes to parliament.
Yes, yeah, I would say that, yes.
You know,
yes.
So why is it that Zambia doesn't have the consistency? I'm glad you were so quick to point at how bad members are, not knowing where I was going to, just confirming how politicians
the Chitemene system works.
Yeah.
All right. No, I think that in maybe to just respond to that, in the case of if we go back a little bit in terms of what had happened, my parents were involved in the struggle for independence. My dad was what they used to call native counselor, working with the DC at Isoka. Because coming from here, we go past your village at Nisali, and we go to Isoka, and then we go up to Mafinga. That's where I come from. But having said that, the main reason why we have it this way is that our understanding of skills, our understanding of the contribution that we can expect from the various individuals differs from one president to the other. Some see those that have worked before them as enemies, and you probably have seen it in the newspapers. They actually say, our enemies. I don't think that we should look at it that way. We are not enemies. We are competitors, that's for sure. We may have different ideas and diverse ideas about how to do things. But our friends, I think we can take a lot of lessons from our friends in, say, United States, definitely. I remember that sometimes an incoming president uses the people he finds there, for example, as their ministers. I mean, you can remember that Obama did keep the then Secretary of Defense for some time before he could replace him. You know, I think he had him for a year or two before he could replace him. So it depends on how you pick your candidates. Sometimes it's that the leadership of the incoming party thinks they will be making a mistake by keeping the people that were there before because they were serving a particular purpose. I am not a politician. I'm a technical person. Right? My training is that of an accountant. My training is that of a manager, because after my university, my first degree in the UK, I was subsequently sent to Harvard Business School in the United States. So I'm a manager in terms of looking ahead and seeing that. So I'm part of the founding people of MMD. We founded MMD on the 20th of July, 1990, because we saw the challenges of UNIP at the time, and we felt that there was need for a change. So I would say to you that I am ready to work with anybody, so long as their principles tie with mine. There are certain things which for me are red lines. I will not go beyond a certain point. All right, and one of them, for obvious reasons, is corruption. I will not work with a leadership that is corrupt, because it takes away from the commonwealth of our nation. I will not work with dishonest leadership, because it means that I must lie also to appeal to our people. And I believe that I should be honest and truthful with the way I deal with things. So the example you've given, sir, I would say that it really depends. Sometimes leaders feel that they should not have people that maybe may have a little bit more knowledge than them. Okay, but what it does cost the country sometimes. But there are also times when that becomes necessary. In other words, you don't want to pollute, in inverted commas, what you have already as your team, so to say. Then also people go into politics, presumably to get gain. And so everybody is vying for some position within that new government, so to say. So I'm not so sure that I've answered the question that you've raised.
Partly you have.
But for me, I think that we need to look at the skills that are required. What is the challenge? What is the elephant in the room? What is the problem we're trying to resolve? And look around amongst the Zambians, amongst the nationals, and say, well, that particular individual has got the skills to solve this problem for us. And therefore, you can be able to work with them if they're agreeable to work with you.
The last time I hosted Mr. Smata
yes.
here, he read from the Financial Intelligence Center.
Yeah.
Financial Intelligence.
Yes, Financial Intelligence Center. Yes, FIC.
FIC,
yes.
And what they are fighting. And one thing he brought to my attention, well, he opened my mind. He said, Pastor, you check all the politicians, what they fight is corruption. They will tell you corruption, corruption, corruption. But when you check the FIC,
yes,
there are more, call it sins. There are some sins which are more grave than even corruption. For example, he brought out tax evasion.
Yes.
That there are few politicians who emphasize or talk about tax evasion because the government cannot steal from itself.
That's correct.
But there are so many business people who don't pay tax. So many politicians who don't pay tax. So tax evasion, he said, it's an offense.
It is an offense, yes.
Like any other, it's punishable.
Correct.
And also not just tax evasion, but he said money laundering.
Money laundering,
he
yes.
said in this country, there is more of money laundering going on that the economy cannot be stable.
Correct.
What would you say to
I would totally agree with him. Remember, my training is that of audit. I mean, I do forensic audits. And you probably also may, and the viewers might wish to know that I was, when I went to Parliament in 1996, the first time, I was elected to become the chairperson for public accounts. And I was chairman for public accounts for 2 years. I was also a member of the Economic Affairs and Labor Committee. I chaired that for another 2 years. And so I think that you can say that given my training and when I was in ZCCM, I was in charge of internal audit of the whole company. All right. So I have got a very clear understanding of what goes on, the issues that you've raised of tax evasion, the issues of misreporting, and so-called engineering, or shall we say financial engineering, all these things that are done to avoid paying taxes or to defalcate or to launder resources or to receive what are called consultancy fees and so on and so forth. So I'm quite aware of that. And he was right in making reference to that. And that's why sometimes people laugh at you when you leave government and they say, but look, he's wearing patapatas. All right, now he can wear only sandals. He's not able even to buy shoes. He's not able to buy a vehicle and so on and so forth. And I think we've seen a number of our colleagues that have fallen into that situation because they've not, in inverted commas, they've been unwise not to steal, so to say. So as I said, I think for me, those are red lines. And therefore, any government that I feel or individuals that I feel that I cannot work with because that's what they will espouse, I will not be part of that government. Yes.
Honorable, back to our topic tonight. Tomorrow, we are hosting an agriculture conference.
Yes.
Not that my training is in agriculture. I'm a pastor through and through. I'm a holder of a theological diploma.
Yes.
But for the past 2.5 years, how the motivation, the interest has just come on me
Right.
that I should own a farm and I should succeed. I don't know where it has come from.
You should know better. You are the pastor, remember? The Spirit works on you.
Yeah, when I say I don't know where it has come from, because I didn't go to visit people to say, what are you doing? And then no.
And they develop an interest.
I know why it has come. It's
Yes.
because of wanting to help the people who come to church.
To church, yes.
No money, no house rentals, no
Right.
schools.
Yes.
And since my wife and I started this Camnet TV, we send money from our pocket
Yes.
to people that are maybe almost to commit suicide. And we have paid school fees for certain. We receive different cases.
Requests, yeah.
Every day you have cases. But in the quest of wanting to solve that, I just went upon agriculture, which I felt it was going to be good for me. That said, with the interest and passion I have, and you having been a minister of agriculture, you've seen it all.
Yes.
Can a person like me succeed
Of course
in
you can.
agriculture?
Of course you can. Maybe just to share with you my own experience. I'm an accountant by profession. But at the age of 8, we in the village, in my home village, we were very close to the school, to the primary school. And we were asked that during the holidays, as members of the Young Farmers Club, remember we had these Young Farmers Clubs in the schools, in the primary schools. And at the age of 8, we were, and along with my colleagues, we were asked to be watering the school garden, where we were growing Chinese cabbage or whatever it was. And that was probably, for me, was the best training in terms of how agriculture would impact me. My mother, of course, my dad had died quite early when I was 8 years old, but my mom was very, very passionate about farming. We used to go to the field to plow, to farm. And so, again, that was a very good experience for me. But maybe in my adult age, in my working career, I had the privilege to work as financial controller at Mufulira mine.
Okay.
And each of these mines had its own mine farm. Where you grew your animals, you had milk being provided to the hospitals. Every mine had its own mine farm.
Are they still there?
I hope so, but I'll come to that in a moment. And so I spent 5 years at Mufulira as financial controller, and the mine farm was under my jurisdiction. That was a tremendous help for me in terms of understanding its operations and so on and so forth. But remember also that in the earlier days, at primary school, the schools had farms, they had animals, they had school farms, they had school gardens, they had school orchards, and that was a great lesson for me. And now as a grown-up and understanding statistics and understanding how our country is, 84% of our population, our rural population, 84% of our rural population are engaged in agriculture.
84%?
84%.
Of the rural
population. So almost everybody is involved in agriculture, albeit subsistence. If it is a subsistent agriculture, you do it for survival. You've got to have food. Therefore, you must plow. So in terms of the impact this is having on your spirit, I believe that what the Lord is doing is saying to you, there are so many people, 84% of them, that need guidance in that particular area. And when I left Mufulira mine, I also had, I was a director in what we had developed as Nchanga Farms Limited, which developed the Mukumpu farms, what is called Mpongwe now, what was sold to CDC, the Commonwealth Development Corporation. Those farms in Mpongwe were developed by Nchanga Farms Limited, and I was the member of that board. So we developed that. That was our concept. How shall we do? How shall we help? How would the mine contribute? When the ore runs out at all these mines, what will happen to the people? And so as people were retiring from the mines, they were being given plots of land on mine land so that they could be able to continue to do this. And I think that your calling is basically to try and help as many people, the 84%, it's a high percent, very high percent, that stand in need. And I think that having served in government and having served as Minister of Agriculture, it is quite clear to me that the thing that will exceed our time, my time on this earth will be agriculture. It will still be there because people will need to eat. But also it gives us an opportunity because the world population, the global population is increasing. We're talking about 6 billion at the moment. And very soon, I think the statistics were saying that by 2030, we should be at 8 billion. Now, all these mouths will need to be fed. And where will it come from? The only location that has got the greatest size of free land or arable land is Africa. So you can imagine where your spirit is leading you to, what the Lord is seeking for you to do for the people that stand in need. And I think that for me, even copper, agriculture supersedes even copper. If we do it right, if we make sure that the majority of our people in the rural areas and even in the urban areas, they're impacted by agriculture, right? You can imagine if we didn't have the farms around that provide the food for the cities like Lusaka, the Copperbelt, Livingstone, Chipata, Solwezi, Kitwe, Ndola. If you didn't have farmers there, can you imagine what this could create? It would create great difficulties. And we did experience it, by the way, leading us up to 2000, the year 2000, when we had droughts and the agriculture was in disarray. We did experience where we had to import yellow maize from South America. And it was GMO, by the way. It was genetically modified organism in that maize. And so it was not quite of the same type and quality that we have, that we use traditionally here, which is bred in the manner that is bred at the moment. So I believe that this is the right way to go.
Honorable, this is my passion. Preaching, of course, going into agriculture, no sin involved.
No conflict either.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm just trying, by the grace of God, with my wife, to be able to feed somebody. If you see outside the church, we have 7 avocado trees.
Yes.
7 avocado trees, because I like that fruit. And when I was planting them, I would tell the people, why are you planting more of the avocado trees? I said, because when these grow, the people come here hungry. Bread is not expensive.
Yes.
When I buy bread, I buy sugar, cup of tea, we sit and chat. They are having that.
Yes.
I could have saved someone's life.
That's quite correct.
By having that. So it's in the whole idea of wanting to feed somebody. But the question that you brought, that agriculture is more powerful than copper.
Yes.
If we go that way. Somebody recently said, I think it's the owner of Amazon or one of these billionaires.
Yes.
They are buying up land in America because they are saying the next set of billionaires will come from technology and agriculture.
Agriculture, yes.
Do you share with them?
Absolutely. Concept? Exactly. Technology is driving it. You see the ICT, I mean here, for example, you are beaming now, I would imagine through YouTube, through Facebook, and probably many other channels that you can choose to use, the platforms on which you can be able to. Of course, you do run on DSTV.
DSTV,
okay.
Top Star, and Go TV.
If you can imagine what this is doing, until very recently, just to make a phone call to America, you would have to wait days, hours in order to make a phone call. Now everybody can pick their individual phones, not even one fixed phone, but their individual phones, and they can call anybody, anytime, anywhere on the globe.
Just like right now, there are 100, there are about 1,800 people in the diaspora who
that are watching this program
on daily basis.
So I mean, quite clearly, ICTs have changed the ballgame. You are now able to do that. Now, so as was said by this billionaire, that will continue. Now you've got people that are non-astronauts going into space. How is that managing? Everybody's controlling that aircraft from the ground. I mean, can you imagine that? And you ask sometimes, how about when the aircraft is on the other side of the globe? Okay? you know, this is the kind of technology that we are working with at the moment, satellites all over the place. So that is an important thing for us to understand, and yes, definitely billionaires will come from there. But even those billionaires, even those that have gone into space, they need to eat. They need to eat.
Yeah.
They have to eat. And therefore, it is, and as the population of the world grows, you will have to have the means to feed them. And that's why I was saying that it's much more productive, it's much more profitable to invest in agriculture even more than in copper, because copper is a wasting asset. Once you finish the ore, once you've mined it out, and we've got examples of that here in our country. Go to Bwanamkubwa, go to Kalengwa, it's depleted. The ore has been depleted. And even in Changa open pit, it's not going to go on forever. It's going to, and there are many examples in the world over, that where the ores have been depleted, and therefore they leave gaps in the earth.
Like the gold mines of South Africa.
The gold mines of South Africa, and the overburden that has been removed from underground or from the surface and placed, it becomes a mountain. And who is going to fill back? You know, in the mining sector, we call it backfilling. Who's going to do the backfilling? To bring it back to level so that we can be able to plant trees on it. So you need the land. And this is why I said in the last discussion that you and I were sharing, is that we said Zambia is very fortunate in that we have got the comparative advantage of having the 4.3 million hectares of arable land, and 40% of the surface and underground water in southern subcontinent of Africa. That's a fantastic resource, because it's renewable. The land can be renewed. If we look after it, apart from the climate change, the water would be renewable because God has placed it there. And if we're fortunate, because Zambia sits right on top of the plateau, we're some 4,000 meters above sea level. And all the waters that are coming from our country, Zambezi, you're talking about Luapula, you're talking about Luangwa, you're talking about the Chambeshi, they are all flowing from that plateau to the sea on either side. A fantastic place to be in. What else can you ask for? You need that. You need that resource. The comparative advantage is that it's God-given.
But, Honorable, if I may ask, yesterday I hosted Professor Chibelushi Musongole.
Yes.
And just like in the previous conference, he said Zambia is at the tail end of almost everything in agriculture.
Yes.
We don't export.
Yes.
We are not a force to reckon with like Zimbabwe used to be.
Right.
Why is it so that Zambia fails to tick in the area of agriculture? And I'm asking this, you having been the Minister of Agriculture before, you are the right person.
Yeah, here.
In the head.
Here. Pastor Chiluba, it's here. That's where the problem is. You know, I was just reading some document between yesterday and today. What does Japan have that we don't have in terms of resource? They have no mines. They have no metals. How do they become the third largest economy
in the world?
In the world. How do they do that? Let's go to Singapore. What does Singapore have to offer the world? It's just a peninsula into the sea. It was part of Malaysia before. What is it? Yet it earns so much money. Singapore, it earns so much money from handling containers. So you have to create, it's in here. It's in here. We have to have the vision. You members would say, Ichimonwa. You know, you need to have the vision. God has given each one of us a vision. But if your interest is to go and steal when you go to government and you become a minister or you become a permanent secretary or you become a purchaser or you become an accountant, if that is your concept, it won't help us. So the reason why the country has lagged behind, nothing, Pastor Chiluba, happens on its own. You've got to plan for it. You've got to plan for it. If you don't plan, then you're planned to fail. Because you can not even start at all. So I think that the biggest problem that we have is here. Because I've explained to you how much land we have, I've explained to you how much water we have. So what do you need to do agriculture? You need land and water. You need seeds. You need labor. Don't we have that? 84% of our population, 84, are young people below the age of 35. 84%. 15.6 million of our population of 18 million are young people. What do you do with them? So you have the labor. You have got the land. You've got the water. Even the weather, even with the change of climate, due to climate change, we still are one of the most favored places in the world. Look at Zimbabwe. On the southern part of Zimbabwe, it's arid. If you go to Botswana, it's the same. After Francistown, going to the other side, it's arid. Okay, so in South Africa, you cannot even talk about. How come South Africa is exporting things to us, which we can produce? Tomatoes, even eggs were coming from South Africa, for crying out loud. Ketchup, peanut butter. Why? But you've got groundnuts in Petauke. You send them to South Africa so they can make peanut butter and send it back to you. Does not make sense. So as minister, you made this point. As minister, my job was, in the last session when I went back to commerce, I basically said that we need to have these industrial clusters. These industrial clusters are to help us exploit our resource, our production, so that we can feed ourselves. Why should we import what we can produce and feed ourselves with? Why should we be importing that? You know that even our copper, so we say, pipes are imported. Copper pipes imported by a country that produces 800,000 metric tons every year of copper. How can that be? I worked at Zamefa and I can tell you this much, that even the country right now is importing things which we should be exporting, what we should be making.
At the time you had Zamefa, Honorable, I don't know, I was told that Zamefa cables were the best in the world.
They are some of the best.
Yeah.
We were working with a company called BICC.
So why did we close Zamefa?
Zamefa is not closed.
It's not closed?
No. Zamefa is, it was privatized. Zamefa is working. But what I'm saying is that the country produces 800,000 metric tons on average. At the moment, the target is 1 million metric tons of copper. But I'm saying that even though we're producing that 1 million metric tons, all right, or 800,000 metric tons, we are still importing things we can produce. I have given you the example of pipes. If you go to the plumbing side, if you go in the toilet and you see those copper pipes, those are imported into the country.
Yeah, but why I almost thought that it was closed, because at the time it was government. It was
a parastatal.
Dominant,
it was a parastatal.
The
it was
dominance
51% owned. Yeah.
Zamefa.
Yes.
To buy cables, Zamefa. And we rarely had imported things then to do with copper cables, because we were making. Why have we reduced, or why are we not having that dominance? We
don't have that dominance at the moment because of the economic policies that we pursued after the 1991 change in government. The so-called liberalization of the economy.
Oh, I see.
Yes. You started now saying, let's go to the cheapest source. Zambia had attained a very high level of industrialization. Remember, I don't know if you were much too young at the time. You remember Tip Top drink?
Yes, I use.
All right, coming from pineapples grown in Mwenelonga.
Tip Top, Tarino.
Tip Top, Tarino, all this. In other words, until you do that, you produce things. Yes, initially they may not be to the best standards, but you need to do that as part of your industrialization. In other words, don't import what you can produce yourselves, because you need foreign exchange to pay for the items you import. So this is where you are talking about this. This is where I believe that this is where it went wrong. And I know that my late friend and brother, Ronald Penza, he and I used to fight a lot about this. He says, Bob, you are a supply side economist. I said, yes. Unless you've got something, you would have to bring it from somewhere else. You would have to pay somebody else to have what you don't have. So the best way is to produce it, especially that we have the resource here. And that's why I'm saying to you, the advantage of having land, the advantage of having water, and which is what we'll be sharing, I think, with our colleagues that are coming tomorrow. What can they do? You talked about avocados, for example, just outside here. It's one of the best fruits in the world. all right, avocado. And many countries are aspiring to have that avocado. And I'm hoping that when we come to the presentations tomorrow, a lot of our people that are coming to the conference will learn. And avocado grows literally anywhere here, anywhere. Right. So what I'm saying is that it is here where we have to decide, are we going to stay where we are? And you know, Mzungus must be laughing themselves to town, in the sense that they see us with all this resource. If you go to UK, if you go to Europe, these countries in Europe, especially the colonial countries like France, the Great Britain, the Belgium, they were built by resources from Africa.
Even I'm told that 60% of the budget of France still comes from
still being subsidized by
Africa.
African countries. Absolutely correct. So what I'm saying is that the fault lies not in our stars, but in ourselves, in what we are doing in our minds. If we don't think through what we need to do, and this is now coming back to the issue talked about the governments. If I was president, for instance, I would be looking for the best brains in the country. And every country, God gives us people that can be able to fulfill this. The failure is not God not giving us people. The failure is in our minds, in our thoughts, in our plans, in our strategies, in the things that we think need to be done for the country. Hence, for me, I'm saying to you that as we stand at the moment, Zambia should be taking full advantage of its position in terms of the availability of land. Go on what is called the Tazara Corridor. The Tazara Corridor, where the Tazara passes. Huge amounts of land. And I mean, good land. I mean, you come from Chinsali. Just look at the land at Mpika. Beautiful land. Great land. You know that as well as I do.
I almost called you Bishop. Honorable.
Not yet.
Honorable. What you are saying here, it is something that has been making me having sleepless nights. I'll tell you what, without mentioning names, for the past 2 years, thank God for President Edgar Chagwalungu. He accommodated me with my team, and I met him also, just telling him about this same agriculture project. And it is so amazing that even as we sit here, we tend to emphasize more on foreigners to develop Zambia for us.
Yes.
I didn't get the news so much, but I heard the clip where President HH today, during the press conference, he was saying that we, as government, they're going to look for the money, and he put emphasis on the Zambians to help the indigenous Zambians.
And rightly so.
And I think that, for me, is step one to developing the nation.
Absolutely.
Now, for the past 2 years, Honorable, I would knock at the door of this person, that door, State House opened the doors more than some permanent secretaries opened the doors for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I said we need to work on the mind. Pastor Chiluba, the reality of the situation is as follows. There is no way that a foreigner would love Zambia more than I do if there was nothing for them to gain from being here. My citizenship of my country, Zambia, is not just being called Zambian. I'm connected to the land. I'm connected to the soil here. I was born in Kabalenge, in Wapula. Okay? My mutoto is there.
No mutoto go wala.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up in Muyombe village. If I go home now, you know there is that nostalgia. This is home. I've come home. This is where I grew up. Remembering my friends, how we used to call Namushe in the night. Okay, where we played football. Yes. Now, you can imagine that is how I feel about my country. I don't think anybody coming from outside will feel the same way as I do. I am attached to the soil. Where else can I go, Pastor Chiluba? Where else can I say this is a home?
And when you make money, you have no any other place bank it.
Why should I even go and bank it outside? If I take it outside, it's for a specific purpose. Either I'm ill, I need some medication, or whatever it might be, or I need some equipment, whatever it might be. But let's get back to the issue that is before us. President HH is correct. If you don't empower me, then how do you expect me to have loyalty to my country? Now, I was in charge of Citizens Economic Empowerment, and it was under Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. And this was the point that we're emphasizing. There are so many things that we have. And tomorrow, when we have the presentations, we'll be making reference to the farm blocks, for example. We've got 13 farm blocks in this country. Almost every province has got a farm block. 100,000 metric tons, 100,000 hectares of land in each block. Okay? 100,000 hectares of land in each block. So if we are to divide it even amongst all the adults at the moment that are above the age of 20, you have more than an acre for a person and much left over. And therefore the question of us starving should not even arise. Why Zambia should fail to export and be the breadbasket of Africa, it just beats me. So here we are. It is all in the policies that we pursue. And I know that President HH has been a major advocate of agriculture, obviously because of his upbringing. You know, our brothers and friends in Southern Province are such ardent farmers, ardent farmers, very conscientious individuals, fantastic people, okay? And because of that, you know, raising animals, farming, is like it's in the blood of a Southerner. Okay, and I think this is the way to go. And so because of that, he's been brought up to understand that he loves the soil, he wants to do, and his businesses, as you know, are obviously also in the agricultural sector. And therefore, the policies of government that we should be pursuing now is quite clear. Is, in other words, we are pushing an open door. After all, the president is in support of this. Okay, in other words, he's somebody who has got farms. He's somebody who is into livestock. Somebody who is producing bacon, you know, producing beef. Is producing all these items that we talk about. So I am hoping, I'm looking forward to the policies of the government placing the emphasis on agriculture, as I've already said, and that we will have commodities in our country that, first of all, feed us, and secondly, that feed other countries. I'll give another example. If I go to Northwestern Province, our people in Northwestern Province have been blessed with so much. All the organic honey you can think of comes from Kabompo. It comes from Kapirimposhi. It comes from Pika. Just honey, I'm talking about honey. A ton of what is called waste from honey, beeswax, is selling at $5,000 per metric ton. That's what they need in the pharmaceutical sector. So, I mean, what I'm saying is that it's just up to us, is to envision beyond our limitations, the limitations of our minds. And I think I'm looking forward therefore to tomorrow's conference, in the sense that we can impart some of this information and knowledge and create equal enthusiasm as you have, and the passion that you have to share this with our colleagues and make sure that they can find land. And no Zambian should be selling land at all. Every one of us must hold on to the land that we have, or pieces of land that we've got. That will be my submission.
Honorable, I am so glad that you mentioned that today my wife and I led a delegation of the people who have come for the conference to meet Dr. Reda. And when he was explaining about this, about that, and that gentleman is just a genius. I can't wait to, each time I listen Dr. Reda explaining, whenever we go there with my wife, he will say, Pastor, have you seen this field? Even today, he said, the Zambians, you are used to using the land once in a year.
Yes.
And that is during rain season.
Rain season only, yes.
All this time, you are losing out on money.
The land is stagnant.
But he puts, the other time we went there, we found sweet watermelons like this.
Yes.
He moves watermelons, there is this, there is that. Today we found him, he had put drip irrigation for, he has used the same land four times
this year.
And getting
every 3 months.
Yes.
Yeah, most of the crops will grow in 3 months' time.
And and he's saying that look at what the Zambians miss.
Yes.
Somebody has got land, but they are broke.
Yeah, but Reda comes from Egypt. Most of their land is sand.
Yes, it is sand.
It is sand. And so, I mean, you can imagine what they feel like when they come over here. So, so that's why I said the limit is not even the resource.
It is the mind.
It is the mind. And I'm glad that tomorrow we'll have somebody talking to the issue. In fact, he's talking to the issue. He says mindset. Dr. Reda is talking about mindset. He says the limit is not the resource, it's the mindset. So I'm hoping that not only the people that you went with to see these farms today, but others that will come and join us tomorrow will benefit from that. And you also hosted Dr. Stinga. He was here. I mean, he's an agriculturist, and he's passionate about this. And you know, he's done irrigation. So we are privileged. We've got the water. It's here. Every year in, year out, it goes to the Indian Ocean. If you fly over Mozambique and near the estuary of the Zambezi River, you will see the Zambezi River where it goes into the sea. You see murky water, and then the sea itself is blue. You can actually see. You know, there's flooding over there. It produces electricity along the way at our Kariba. It produces Kaburabasa. It produces electricity, and then of course it floods our friends there. And so we can use it. We can use it over and over in order to provide us with irrigation.
Honorable, it is something that I am looking forward to. And sitting down with you, I was telling Professor Musongole, and the team that God has assembled through Cabinet of these professors, of these doctors yourselves, it is amazing. And sitting here, I'm thinking, in the next 5 years, will Zambia be at the same level?
Of course not.
Will Zambia be at the same level? Because even the team that we have, apart from the experts that we have, Honorable, there are now over 9,500 people who have subscribed to Cabinet. They are in the data.
Right.
Now with that 9,000, if I can update myself, I think we have even gone to 12,000.
Yeah.
With those people having their mindset transformed,
yes.
Do you think Zambia will be at the same level?
Hardly. I mean, it cannot be. It cannot be, because all this, and you know, I'll be talking about the value added. Okay, each one of those is a value added to the agriculture. Everyone that comes into agriculture becomes a value addition. In other words, every one of us, we need to produce. I mean, at my own household, we have a small holding, okay? And obviously we're looking for a bigger place where we can be able to do. My wife does tomatoes. She does strawberries. She's doing the maroon onions and the white onions. She's doing Chinese cabbage. She's doing, now she's just grown some maize, you know, to harvest for December. So this issue that you're talking about of constantly using the land, constantly using it almost every 3 months, is a great effort, because one of our major limitations has been that ours is a one crop year, so to say. Maize from December into March, April, and we're harvesting July. That's it. After that, people are waiting for the ripening of the crops. And so we need to deal with this. This is a policy issue. This is a program issue. How do we deal with this? And my own honest opinion is that if we can borrow and borrow wisely and invest it in these renewable programs, because if you remember, last time we discussed this, I was mentioning to you that the Farmer Input Support Program at the moment is only supporting 1 million people. 1 million. 1 million. The number of farmers, the population of farmers or farming families stands at just under 2 million. Okay? And every time we've got an individual passing the age of 18, it's adding on to the numbers. So if you look at the people that can be employed in agriculture, let's say for argument's sake, we move from the 2 million to 5 million. It means that we've made it 2.5 times what we're doing now. So if we just said even the productivity remains the same as at the moment, but we've got 2.5 times more people doing it, it means our production is going to go up by 2.5 times. Okay, again, this is another issue that will be dealt with tomorrow. How do we use the statistics? How would we utilize them to do whatever planning, whatever production? And so I'm hoping that the people will be able to come and hear how they can do that at farm level. And so this is going to be an important issue for us. The more people come into agriculture, the more we can produce. The more we can produce, the more we can export. Because we don't need everything to be consumed here. To give you an example, our current production on maize, just maize alone, let's not even go to any other crop. Maize alone, when I was minister, we were producing 2.5 million metric tons of maize. That was the highest at the time in 2013, 2014. Then you have now moved to a stage where we're producing 3.5 million. Okay? Unfortunately, Pastor Chiluba, unfortunately, we lose 30% of that crop. How do we lose it? To storage losses. Because it fumigate, we don't fumigate it. And so it becomes soggy and it germinates. So although we are having these piles of maize all over the place stored, not all of it is usable. So what do we do with the rest? We export it. Congo alone, Katanga, just Katanga, not even the rest of DRC, just Katanga alone, takes from us as much as 750 based on the current arrangements. But they need much more than that. They need more than 1 million metric tons. There's 9 million people in Katanga. 9 million people in Katanga. Big market for Zambia. That's half our population. So there's a ready market for us. How about the animals that are being raised in Botswana, in northern part of Botswana? Again, that is an important place for us. Right? They've got a lot of animals in Botswana, but they need to have stock feed. Right? And if you talk about Kasani area, just across the Kazungula Bridge, what do you do with that? You have to feed them. So we've got markets everywhere. Zimbabwe is struggling at the moment. It's a market for us. World Food Program buys a lot of maize from us and sends there. Now, I'm not in favor of sending them maize. I'm in favor of sending them mealie meal. We should process it here, value add here, and then export it. Okay? Malawi has been struggling because they don't have the land. There was a time when Tanzania was having problems with maize because of the droughts there and also the flooding. Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, South Sudan, all those countries. Then we've got the Great Lakes area. You're talking about Rwanda. You're talking about Burundi. You're talking about eastern part of DRC, the Goma area. These are all markets for Zambia.
Honorable, one of the things I must bring out to this is that Zambians, I think we are not united. I'll say this. If a foreigner comes, he wants to work. Instead of you and me partnering together, I would rather partner with a foreigner saying, I don't trust Honorable Sichinga. Why is it so? Because this trend has been killing Zambia. I've seen it. I've flown to Nigeria several times. I've flown to US. I've flown to Thailand. But where you find a Nigeria, even a pastor in Thailand, when you get into this church, you find a lot of Nigerians. You go to the States, you find a pastor by a Zambian. There are no Zambians. They are into that church of another Nigerian or another Zimbabwean, that kind. Why don't we trust each other? Because I have in mind, Honorable, one of the millionaires we've been talking with, my wife, is that he asked me a question about what we are doing to add value to what we grow.
Producing, yeah.
For example, look at how much tomato, Honorable, which goes to waste. As you're driving to Kabwe, as you're driving to this, those women are in the sun 24/7, they are not sleeping because they want little things. And yet, we don't have a factory where we say, dear Zambians, let's come together. We'll buy the machine.
Yes.
Let all these tomatoes.
And we make ketchup.
Why is it so?
Well, I think that I may not really have a complete answer for that, but again, it's generated from our passion for ourselves, our passion for our land, our citizenship, and this issue of trusting or not trusting seems to be a cultural issue. Seems to be a cultural issue. Look at what has just happened in this last regime, where people were saying, oh, only a person from such and such a location can be president of the country. I cannot understand that, quite honestly, because why would you say only a person so what happens to those of us from small tribes? What happens to us? And I don't even understand why somebody should be talking about the tribe. So this thing arises really because of backwardness. Backwardness. And I cannot explain that. I found it even in when we were when I was in government. There were a lot of people were asking me to help them secure certain jobs which were not in my ministry, in foreign service. So I said, but why don't you ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs or your own minister in that area? Oh, they said, no, they will not even support me. So I was compelled to support some individuals, even if it was outside my own ministry. And then I would bring it to the attention of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Look, we've got this candidate. Why don't we help this particular candidate? So you're absolutely right that the Nigerians and the Ghanaians and even Kenyans, Malawans, they hold together much better than we do. I have no idea why this continues to be so, especially when people get more educated. One would expect that they would be much more enlightened, that they would be much more forthcoming in terms of working together in these groups. I hope that with passage of time, we will overcome this.
There are 73 tribes in Zambia. And the new tribe, which was just discovered recently, has just been registered in Zambia, which is the Kamnet family.
Ah, all right, that one, yes. Well, there are a few of us that belong to it.
There are a few of us.
Yes, quite a few of us.
We are a small growing tribe.
That's right.
But that said, Honorable, I can't wait for tomorrow. Because tomorrow, what I benefit from is knowledge. I always tell people, when you see Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuba sitting like this, Honorable, I used to visit America twice, 3 times in a year, not to go and preach, but to just attend some conferences. I would just sit there.
Just to hear.
I've been in search of knowledge, you know, just knowledge. I want to see what makes this person tick. Many years ago, we were in Springfield, Massachusetts with my wife.
Massachusetts, yes.
Yes, sir. And Obama was young then. Not young, but he was just coming up. He was some council, I think, in Chicago.
Yes.
He was called to speak at one of the Democrats' conference.
Yes.
Honorable, when I heard that man speak, I said to my wife, this man will be president one day.
Yeah.
I would vote for him.
Yes.
I mean, just
and
what...
and he became one.
And he became one.
Yes, that's right. He's a great orator.
Many years ago, he's speaking.
Yeah.
And when I saw, I said, if I was living in America, I would vote for this
that
man.
Yes.
When he became president, I was not surprised.
Yeah, right.
But here's the deal. I've always been looking at what makes people succeed in life. And this is why you find my wife and I are surrounded by you people. I'm feeling insecure to be close to Batutu. You know Batutu Balanasha. Batutu Balanasha, Honorable. You are discussing same topics, no change, no nothing.
Right.
You are not going forward, you are not going backwards. Tomorrow's conference, Honorable, I believe it will transform someone.
Yeah.
You know, I get excited. I talk with you people on a daily basis. The benefit I've gotten, I wish somebody could come tomorrow. Of course, we have got a very good number of people that are coming.
Yeah, but also I think that you mentioned something here. Look at the individuals that we're talking about. Professor Msongole, Professor Munkumba, Munkumba. You've got Dr. Stima. You've got
Professor Yambayamba.
Professor Yambayamba, indeed.
Professor Reda.
Professor Reda, or Dr. Reda.
Economist
Kalaluka, and all these individuals, and you've got over here Hawazoka. Is coming to talk to Musonda. All these guys, the topics that are talking about are very, very relevant to the time in which we live. And I think this is coupled with the new dawn. I think the people feel, I hope it's not just me that's feeling this, but people feel liberated after the change at 12th of August. They feel a new start for the country, a new beginning for the country. How about the policies? They are no longer tolerant as they were with PF. Now UPND must deliver. We want to take our country forward. I like that spirit. I love that spirit. We need to take our country forward. And definitely the topics we're covering tomorrow, value addition for my side, the statistics, how are we going to use statistics, where are we positioned in the country versus other countries, how do we grow these crops 4 times in a year instead of just once, which will be tackled tomorrow. How do we position ourselves, because that's the theme of the conference tomorrow. All right, repositioning Zambia for wealth and job creation.
Absolutely.
That's what we've said. So this resonates. This resonates with government's own thrust. The current government's own thrust. So it's fantastic. It's compatible. It's a concomitant focus at the moment, so that we are able to utilize what is in our hands. Because to hope that it will come from somewhere else, it will come from another country, we can wait forever. But we've got something in our hands. God has given us something. We use what we have and make the best of it.
And the investors from Egypt will be flying in tomorrow.
Then, of course, you've got the people coming from the United States coming to tell us about
the markets.
And you know that I talked to you about AGOA. Okay, the AGOA program, where we can literally take anything into the United States, duty-free, no reciprocation, no reciprocity.
No, the doors are so open, and I like the way we have approached this, because everything that they will be hearing tomorrow is that we have looked for the market first before.
So there's a market,
a market before the seminar.
That's quite correct.
And the things that trouble people.
Where am I going to sell my produce?
Where am I going to sell my produce?
That's quite correct.
And I think this is a challenge, and any Zambian that is forward thinking should be able to say, I will attend this conference.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. Well, I just wish that everybody would have the same passion and understanding, and there's going to be great leading by all of us from each other, and certainly we will share a lot of information tomorrow. And of course, we've got people talking to us about even land. How do we acquire land? Where do we go? We've got a presentation that we're going to make tomorrow about the best areas to grow apples, to grow oranges, to grow pineapples, to grow bananas. Because our country, here in this country, we import bananas, 400 metric tons every month from outside the country. Why should we be doing that? 400 metric tons.
And that bananas. Is foreign exchange going?
It has to go. 400 metric tons. We import, Pastor Chilua, we import something like 73,000 metric tons of bream into our country. We should be exporting that. We should be exporting 100,000 metric tons. Why do we import it? What is our aquaculture? What is our fisheries to develop this? And we've got 40% of the water resource in Southern Africa. So why are we not using it? So these are the things that we'll be talking about tomorrow. And I'm also looking forward to that. And a great team that you have put together. And we'll summarize all these things. We'll provide materials for the people that are coming to attend. We'll provide flashes for everybody so they can have this information available to them and use it.
One of the participants, as we were with Dr. Reda, after listening how simple that man makes things and seeing the crops and things that we'll be dealing with, as we were walking to the vehicles, He says, Pastor Chilwa, I'll be so surprised that at the next election, if I want to be a millionaire, with this kind of information. I said, it's taking people 2-3 years to be millionaires.
That's right.
It's just that we've been dormant, you know.
I was just disappointed. Today I was learning something that when I was reading this, as former minister, of course, I was quite disappointed that the Zambia National Zambia National Service had detained a Zambian who was taking maize to Congo. Okay, and somebody was commenting on that social media piece that, see, they've killed his business. They've killed this man's business. And so what happens? So somebody says, oh, he can sue him. They can sue them because there's no law against exporting. Right? But much more than that, it's not just about the fact that he can sue. So what happens between now and when the case is concluded in 5 years' time? What happens to them? What happens to that business? It's closed. It's no longer functioning. Who is benefiting? Not even Zambia National Service. No. So I think that this is something that our government and the New Dawn leadership, I think, would have to look at very, very quickly. And fortunately, we have been very fortunate this year, 2020 to 2021. God has been so kind to us. We have another bumper harvest as far as maize is concerned. Why do you want to stop somebody from exporting? I mean, our consumption here in our country, Pastor Chiluba, every year, our annual consumption, what we use for stock feed to feed the people, is 1,250,000 metric tons. 1,250,000 metric tons. 750 goes to Katanga, and that gives us 2 million. Now, if we produce 3.5 million, what do you do with the difference? 1.5 million metric tons. What do you do with it?
You export.
You should be exporting.
And
but if somebody is going to arrest you, you lose your money, you lose your capital, what good is that? Even if you sue them, even if they come to pay, you have a settlement of whatever the value was in 5 years' time, what has that done to you in the meantime? It has killed your business. The other thing that I think is going to be very important for us is the interest rates on the borrowings in the capital market and in the banks. 36% is far too high. You'll be working for the bank throughout. 36% is what is lending rate at the moment. So we need to look at that and work to reduce the interest rates for a sector that you want to promote. So that's going to be another issue that we have to look at, these models that are going to be used.
And I think President Echech talked about the interest rates.
No, I think
I
it's well aware.
It that he was saying that we need to reduce the
36% is far too high. You'll be working for the bank for the rest of your life. Because how much profit would you be making to pay 36%?
You must make 70.
At least 100, because you've got overheads too. How about your own income? How do you survive? How about emergencies? How about if you're sick? How about sending children to school? All those things have to be covered, because our viewers might also be informed that farming, agriculture is not repeat, not a retirement place. No, it is not a retirement place. It is a business. It is a business where we should make money and indeed create millionaires. This is why we're talking about millionaires that must be made from agriculture. Why? Because everybody eats. Everybody must eat. So why shouldn't you make money out of it? And for as long as we don't make farming profitable, it will be very difficult for people to invest a lot more into it. So I'm looking forward to our discussions tomorrow, and that I think if everybody understands what we're talking about, they can then, of course, be able to exert pressure on our government to make sure that these programs that are going to be followed are going to be beneficial to the farming community.
Honorable, excuse me. Tonight we are not going to take on the phones because obvious reasons. You need to rest, I need to rest. Registration of the conference is at 7:30. The tables will be set 7:30, and the first speaker takes the microphone at 9 o'clock, I believe.
9 hours.
9 hours. So we are wanting to allow the people to be seated before they miss the points from the first speaker. But just before we close, Honorable, please tell the Zambian people the importance of the private sector working with the government, because looking through this camera, I want to tell the government officials, those of you with colonial mentalities who are probably in this new government, we knock at your door, there are these red tapes you can't. I am not looking for your job. I am not coming to replace you. When we knock at your door, it's because we want something from you. The government creates enabling environment. But if you are going to, oh, Pastor Chiluba, come next week, what? Come the other week. This government, the new government, I think, Honorable, sorry about this, the working culture of civil servants, it leaves room to be desired.
Absolutely.
I don't like the way certain people work. When I come to you, sir, when you're a minister, I don't come to waste time.
No.
It means I've got something to tell you.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you treat me like I'm rubbish, I have no better ideas,
do, yeah.
only you who is in government, I think that is an offense. So would you say your last words, the working together of government and private sector, because this is important?
Yeah, I think that you Pastor Chiluba, I think that you hit the nail on the head. This is an important component of how a government services its people. It services its industries. Because remember, government does not produce. They are not the ones that are farmers. The government is a facilitator. And we've said this in the programs that we're presenting tomorrow. Government is a facilitator. That's what it is. Whether it is the people at Mount Makulu doing research work, it's intended to support the farmers. Whether it is the extension officers in the fields and at camps, these are people that are supposed to be supporting the farmers to produce more, to produce as much as is. If it is people supplying the fertilizers, for example, or seed, for example, they have in mind the people that are going to finally use that commodity. And definitely, I am aware that President HH has been talking about private sector. The truth of the matter is that private sector cannot work in isolation, because they work in an environment of government policies. Government sets the policies, and the people that carry them out primarily is the private sector. You know, people who say, no, I want to make money out of it. As we say, I want to be a millionaire out of it. I want to achieve the following out of it. I want to ensure that this year I can buy another farm. And you know, I'll grow soybeans. This one says I'm going to grow sunflower. This one says I'm going to grow groundnuts. And I think this private sector needs to be facilitated and assisted in achieving this objective. And I'm hoping that from tomorrow, once we collect these statistics and we know which people are working in which sectors, we can be able to say to government, look, this is what we're seeing. But it's not just government that might be a problem. Okay? There are also associations, industrial associations.
Associations, yeah.
Whether it's a farmers association, whether it is the producers, manufacturers association, they too sometimes can be inhibiting. Right? So what we're saying for the government, we must say also for other players in the marketplace. There are cabals, if you want. There are cartels, for example, where people say we are going to fix the price at this level. That also must be worked on to make sure that people are responsive, that all of us must be working congruently to achieve the objectives that we're setting out for ourselves. So yes, indeed, I do agree with you that our colleagues in government, the mindset must change. In other words, if we want our country to go forward, they are as much responsible for its success as the private sector. The private sector is just as responsible as the government's intentions to achieve better results for the country. So it's definitely that appeal that you've raised is a very important one, and I'm hoping that my colleague, Honorable Mtolo, our Minister of Agriculture, is somebody that I've known for a long time, and I'm sure that he will ensure that his ministry is responsive, because now he's got these two ministries combined, work the livestock and fisheries have been brought back into agriculture. So that is now a bigger ministry, as was the case when I was minister. And it's something that, that's why I always advocate that ministers should be outside parliament. I always have believed that this is the right way, because they must focus and concentrate on ensuring that the programs that are set up become successful. We can see the results in a shorter period. In other words, our gestation period for these programs should be much shorter, not where it takes 5 years before we start to see results. No.
So you are saying that when somebody is in parliament, half of the time is in parliament.
Is in parliament.
Not
so how are they going to focus on agriculture? This is a serious job. This is a serious job. I am a great advocate. I want cabinet outside parliament. Then you can focus, and I can tell you from my own experience, and I'm a technically qualified person, and you can also find that many ministers are not technically qualified. So they'll be struggling to keep this, jobs. Sometimes it's not just the issue of parliament and cabinet responsibilities, but you also find that they've got responsibilities in the party. Okay? So you have the job in the party, you've got a family to look after, you've got parliament to worry about, the constituency to worry about, then you've got to be a minister. It becomes far too much. So that's why I prefer that ministers must focus on the job in hand and make sure that they're successful. And I can say this based on experience that I've had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Finally, Honorable, yesterday when I was with Professor Chibelushi, looking at how we are working as Camnet family, the Secretariat, I appealed to the qualified men and women in this nation, the extension officers,
right,
to send their names, to send their emails, their phone numbers to Camnet TV, because where we are going and not too far from now, I am thinking they will become handy.
Yes.
And we should look at this nation as ours.
Yes.
Having the passion for our nation.
Yes.
Was I wrong to appeal
no, far from it.
Extension officers?
No. In fact, the private sector are the clients to these extension officers because they're government employees to facilitate. So you are quite right that this information is absolutely necessary. But also I think that to take it a little further, we do have our colleague, Mr. Mwale, I think, who is coming from the ministry, or whoever they'll send to us, the director.
Mr. Mwale has gone to officiate at some programs.
Right. So whoever they'll send us,
he will be with the minister.
All right. Fine. So we expect that whoever will come in his place will be able to share with us their commitment to this cause, the one that we are making reference to. Because private sector can't work in isolation. Neither can government, because the private sector is client to government. So we need to work together in order to make sure that our country can move forward. We are working for the same purpose, for the same intentions. So no, you are not wrong at all. That's the way that's the way we should go about it. I am hoping that we've got 116 districts as a country and growing. In fact, for my purpose, I normally work at 160 something because these constituencies, I regard constituencies as districts. So that is going to be very, very important for us to have from the DACOs, right, to work with the DACOs, to work with the extension officers at the camps, and also with the provincial agricultural officers as well. Yeah.
Well, dear Camnet TV viewers, sorry about not taking your phone calls. We need a little sleep, and these men and women will be offloading things tomorrow. If you didn't buy your ticket in time, especially you from Eastern, we can simply say Pepan. But those of you who've got tickets, you never regret any moment. On behalf of my wife, on behalf of the Camnet TV crew, on behalf of our journalists and the Camnet family working tirelessly to bring your program, our programs to your screen, and also the church that my wife and I pastor, we are so grateful. And I'm so grateful for Honorable Bob to have taken his time to come here, because he's in the thick of things preparing to come and speak tomorrow and all this, but we had to plead with him to come. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you so much indeed.
We'll see you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much indeed to our viewers. I hope this has been useful to you.
Amen. We will just say keep watching Kamne TV, and you know that Kamne TV is not just another channel. Shalom, shalom.